Jeff.
And I'm Jeff, and welcome to WineGeekTV, a weekly web show dedicated to helping the average Joe and Jane like me learn and appreciate wine, in this case cheese, just a bit more each and every episode from an expert sommelier like Mr. Keycheck. What's our motto?
If you learn one geeky wine tip per episode, Jeffrey, we've done our job. And we're going to talk a little bit about cheese in this episode too. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm Mr. Cheese. I set myself up for
Yes,
that.
you did. That was unintentional.
But there are a handful that I do enjoy a lot, and there are some classic pairings with some classic wines that really do go well together. It turns out that wine and cheese really aren't that great of a pairing per se. It's hard to match wine with cheese. Why? It's actually a really difficult pairing because cheese has so many different extremes. It's very pungent, it's very sticky, it can be very acidic, it can be very salty. All of these things are, times 10 and hard to do with certain wines.
Why do you think that everybody talks about wine and cheese though?
Well, because there are some classic pairings that when they work beautifully.
Okay.
And we have some of them here.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind, white wine often works. When in doubt, try a white wine because the acidity and that crispness helps wash a lot of that pungency or that big creaminess out of your mouth. Okay. All right. And also, we should match intensity with intensity. It's a lot like regular food pairings in that way. If you have a very intense big cheese, you need a very intense big wine. Hence the Stilton and aged 10-year tawny. Okay. Okay. So, should we just start? Do you want to? So one of the first main pairings. Here's the cheeses. Okay. So we have a goat's cheese or a chèvre that works very well with the Sancerre. Then over here is it's a Mount Tam, which is a triple cream from California, and then over here is a Stilton from England. All right. So each of these have a very distinct good pairing. Okay. Okay.
So we move some of these out of the way. Let's
table's getting crowded.
All right.
Let's pour the. This is the 2007. Domaine Frank Millet Sancerre. Sancerre is almost dead center in the middle of France. France, thank you. Okay. In the Loire Valley. Okay. All right. So you get the tartness.
So what do I do here?
You get the tartness and the fruitiness of the cheese. I get the tartness and the fruitiness of the wine. Ready? Here we go. So
what was that again?
Chèvre, goat cheese. Great in salads. Well,
I'm not a big fan of goat cheese, but that was actually pretty good.
Just washes all right away. Well, it's a pretty pairing.
Yeah, I mean they're very mild, right?
Very mild and have an equal weight to it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it kind of goes in there and it melds perfectly with the cheese and then washes it all away.
So a Sancerre
with goat cheese. With goat cheese. Sancerre, the grape is Sauvignon Blanc. Okay? Okay. So if you can't find a good Sancerre, try to find a decent Sauvignon Blanc. Usually an oak would be nice. Okay, so moving on. That was no me. You're hungry, right?
Keep going. What do we got there, Jeff?
All right, so this is the Avignon Cava from Spain. Now, something to think about when you're having really creamy cheeses like triple creams or double creams. Like this, which would be kind of in the brie category. This is a Mount Tam cow's milk cheese. Think about the huge acidity, the over-the-top mouth-cleansing acid of a sparkling wine. Okay, a Sancerre would get lost with this, but this would work beautifully. Okay. Champagne, one of the really good pairings is champagne, vintage champagne with Epoisse. And you've had Epoisse, haven't you?
I don't know. But so for the average user, or average drinker, Cava. Oh. We did an episode on sparkling wine, and we featured Cava and Prosecco.
Actually, we featured just very Cava.
Did we do it? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, we're in a pattern now. We're predictable. All right. So what do we do here? So we take some of this, and then we take some of that.
Yeah, let's take this.
Okay. Well, it's bright, a little fruity.
I always like this one because I think it has a nice little citrus kick in there as well. You almost get a little mandarin orange on the nose. So here's a triple cream, you dork. You can
And this knife, I haven't stuck this.
Just do that.
Okay, now what do I do? I'll transfer it from my fork.
Ooh, you can see, look at that. That's really looking good. So here's another good cheese tip. Before you eat cheese, take it out of your fridge at least 3 or 4 hours beforehand. Let it get, open it up, put it on a plate, let it soften up, let it get stinky. It definitely enhances the enjoyment of the cheese 1,000-fold. Jeff can attest to that.
Yeah. I'll go into that. Am I eating it?
St. Paul Cheese Shop in St. Paul is where we got the wine here, a guy named Benjamin.
We got the wine?
We got the cheese from a guy named Benjamin.
Great, they have great sandwiches there.
Oh, very good.
All right, that's very creamy.
That's like butter, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of bitter,
my wife.
one of the things you should think about, if you're using red wines with cheeses, it gets a little more difficult. Sorry. It gets a little more difficult because oftentimes if you're using cheeses, they have a higher salt content. They tend to be a little salty, as many harder cheeses are. And if you're using a red wine that has any tannic structure at all, it'll make those tannins appear more bitter. So if you're going to use a red wine and do some hard cheeses, and hard cheeses are kind of nice to pair with wine, use a more mature red wine where the tannins are a little softer, a little smoother.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Good.
Good tip. All right, on to number 3. This is truly one of the great pairings of all time. It kind of also constitutes one of the regional pairings in a way. Granted, this is made in Portugal, the Otima 10 10-year-old tawny port from Portugal, but all of these great old port houses are British run and British owned, and the Stilton, which we'll be trying next with it, is also British. So, here we go.
We don't have port glasses, but this should be okay.
No, that'll be fun. So the Otima 10, aged port or vintage port, or an older style tawny port, work very well with Stilton. And here you're talking about matching intensity with intensity. You're talking about matching salty cheese with a sweeter wine,
like
sweet and salty.
So if you never had tawny, it's kind of
caramely.
Yep, it's
vanilla.
Tastes like, it smells like a little bit like what stuff you put on pancakes? Syrup.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup. Oh.
So okay, we'll take a little sip and then we'll drink. Right. So a little bit of a bite of a Stilton. I may have taken too big of a bite there, but now this should wash it all down, cleanse the palate, cream up the Stilton even more, and just turn it into that kind of heaven in your mouth. Is it a little bit?
Oh, that's good. I may not be able to drive when I get there. I'd do some more of that.
Isn't that cool?
So, blue cheese, veiny blue cheese, and port. That's way big.
Yeah.
Thanks to Wine Thief for letting us shoot in their store, Wine Thief at www.winethief.net, and in sunny St. Paul at Mac, Groveland, St. Clair, and Fairview.
It takes all the harshness out of the wine too, that kind of alcoholic kick. The cheese balances it all out perfectly.
It does.
And to Zips Liquors, which furnished 2 of the wines, this is mine, furnished 2 of the wines, very special thanks to Zips Liquors in Minneapolis. Or in Riverside.
That's right, at
www.zipsliquors.com.
All right, and again, thanks to the cheese shop on Grand Avenue in St. Paul for the great cheese.
Yep.
All right, until next week, take care.
Okay, so here we go. We'll take a little of the goat cheese. So goat cheese.
We always go top notch when we do silverware.
Goat cheese, the mountain. You want to get your fork, I'll just rub some on your fork.
This is just going in bad directions.